Now, since you know that the stories are the proper object of explanation, then all you have to do is follow the same procedure you follow with the baby on the doorstep. You would choose the known explanation over the unknown one. Well, do we have known explanations for the generation of stories? We certainly do. We have hallucinations. Can hallucinations produce stories of resurrections? Yes. Somebody could hallucinate. They saw somebody alive that was dead. They write the story. You just produced a story of a resurrection. That's a known phenomenon for producing stories of resurrections. Can deductive error do it? Sure. Somebody can deduct this. X should happen, therefore X did happen. And I'll show you a very clear example where Dr. Craig does that. Can visions do it? Yes. Can political motives do it? Yes. Economic motives? Literary phenomena? All those things can cause the production of stories of the resurrection. And that's the proper object of explanation. Now you go to the other side. What he wants you to believe is this unknown cause the story of the resurrection. Well, what is the unknown one? Well, he wants you to believe that an actual resurrection produced the story of a resurrection. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a resurrection produce the story of a resurrection? I have not. Why am I going to use an unknown cause to explain something when I have 10 known causes to explain the same thing? It doesn't deal with the problem of equifinality, where two or more processes can result in the same end product. And you have to be particular. Particularism is a method in history. You have to go on a case-by-case basis. He would like sometimes to quote Colin Hayner and catalog all the things Luke got right and then extrapolate from that if historian is right about A, B, and C, he's right about D through Z. We don't do history that way, and I can show you specifically why we don't. So the resurrection has to be judged on its own merits. And I hope that we have some agreed upon beliefs. Because part of the reason he mentioned the papyri and Rubel Shelleys, he knows very full well. He can't preempt this, because he knows full well that the earliest documents we have for the resurrection do not come from the time of Jesus, folks. There are no existing hard copies from the time of Jesus. Nothing. Zero. Unless you want to argue for P46 or something, Kim's proposal that it's dated earlier, and we can do that. There are no manuscripts, even from the first century, about the resurrection. Nothing, no hard copies. The first manuscript of anything that we call the New Testament is called P52. It dates to the 2nd century. It doesn't have a story of a resurrection, so you don't find it in the 2nd century either. You have to go to the 3rd century. And this is just a scrap. This is P50. This is all we have from the 2nd century. Now, this is his problem. He knows full well that there's a gap, you see, because here is the supposed resurrection event. Here is where we have the first documents about the resurrection event. Now tell me, Dr. Craig, how are you going to get from here to here? That's the problem. Because anything can happen between the supposed event and the first copies of anything. We know from P66, that's why it's very important to know the papyri, because we know there were hundreds of corrections made already. Do you know he doesn't even believe that all of Mark, as most Bibles might have it, like the King James Version, it's not original either, verses 9 through 20? A lot of things can happen in between the 1st century and the 3rd century, folks. How is he going to convince us that, yes, there's the story over here, actually reflects something over here? How did this guy over here verify that that happened? You see? But that may not be the worst of it for Dr. Craig, because do you know that he may not believe in every resurrection story in his own Bible? Maybe I misunderstood you, Dr. Craig. But in your debate, in one of your debates, you indicated you did not think Matthew 27, 52 to 53 was historical, literally. Let's read that story, and let's see if his historical criteria can tell the difference. Matthew 27 says that when Jesus died, around that time, the tombs also were opened, and many bodies of the saints that had fallen asleep were raised. And his resurrection, after his resurrection, they came out of the tombs and entered the holy city and appeared to many. Dr. Craig may not believe that's true. So, Dr. Craig, you wanted specifics. You asked for specifics. I'm going to give you some. Do you believe that Matthew 27:52 to 53 represents a literal historical event? Yes or no? Why or why not?